My name is Josephine Lyons, and today I'm going to be doing a windshield survey over Paintsville, Kentucky. Pictured here, I just have a picture of the Paintsville city limits sign and then a historic sign that shows that the second oldest settlement in eastern Kentucky was Paintsville. This next slide are some maps. You can see that Paintsville is located along the mouth of Paint Creek in Johnson County at the Leviza Fork of the Big Sandy River. In the map of Kentucky, the red dot's Paintsville. You can see that we're pretty well situated in eastern Kentucky. The population of Paintsville was around 4,482 in 2020. This next slide, it's going to be some houses that I took pictures of. This is actually a well sought after neighborhood. The top are all apartments that are in that area, and then the bottom are just some older and newer homes that are over there. The White House with the columns is actually for sale right now for $199,000. And it was built in 1922, so pretty expensive for that area. I think it's mostly the location that the prices are so high for. The top are all apartments. I think the cheapest pictured is about $550. I know the big duplex with the 2 garage, I think that's close to $1,000 a month. So rent's fairly expensive in this area too. So signs of decay and pollution. Here I have pictured some abandoned buildings. That's an abandoned gas station. Some older homes that need some work. That building has actually collapsed and been sitting like that. The picture with the fence and trees, that's actually roofing supplies that have just been piled up. So I'm not sure why that hasn't been cleaned up, but it is polluting the ground. Not pictured is actually drug addiction. I know that's kind of weird, but a lot of things happen in Paintsville that relate back to drug addiction. I know people have found used needles in their yard. When I lived in an apartment in Paintsville by myself, I actually came outside my front door and there were beer cans on my doorstep. So that is something that pollutes the area, and it's becoming worse over time. So here I have some pictures of parks. We only have 2 parks. The top one's a smaller park down the hill from where I currently live in Paintsville. There used to be a pool beside of it, but they've closed it down. And then the bottom is the recreational center park. They've got a basketball area that is kind of in the background. You can see there's a ball field too. That's where Paintsville Elementary does their baseball games. The SIP Theater, it's mostly used by the school district for like their drama clubs and stuff. They'll do plays. Sometimes they'll do like a little movie showing, but not often. We used to have a bowling alley. It burnt down probably 2014. No one ever built another one. And then also our movie theater, it closed down during COVID and never opened back up. So here I just took a picture of some people riding this scooter and a man walking. You see that a lot, walking in our area, and most people drive, but you do see people walking quite frequently. We don't have any kind of like taxi service or Uber or anything. I do know that a lot of older people in our area use like something through your insurance where you can have like a cab come pick you up and take you to your doctor's appointment. So for health and social service agencies, we actually have this hospital. It's called ARH Paintsville. They just recently bought it. We used to be Paulby Hall. So I think ARH is kind of a regional thing. They own the one in Prestonsburg and a couple of cities nearby too. They've upgraded a lot of stuff. It only has 72 beds, but there are a couple off-site doctors' offices. We also have a community health department that helps with like vaccinations and families, getting them signed up for WIC and stuff like that for baby formula. And then we have our cabinet for health and family services, which helps with food stamps and insurance, and then CPS and social service work. So for jobs in our area, I took a picture of 3 different businesses. We don't have a lot of industry jobs or like factories or anything here. I took a picture of ARH because they do hire a lot of people, doctors, nurses, techs, custodians, I took a picture of Walmart too. Walmart pays pretty good for our area, and you hear people like getting on there and just staying. You don't hear about people leaving there often. They recently raised their wages too. I know that if you're a deli worker, you make $15 an hour, so that's really good money around here. And also I took a picture of the Ramada because I know they hire quite a bit of people, especially like ground workers and stuff. So these pictures are our protective services. We actually have a fire department, a sheriff's department, a police department, and then city council's right next to the police department. This is all located downtown. The storage looking building, that's actually our fire department. They also have emergency rescue team in there. I know that I've seen them used before. We actually have an area in town that floods quite a bit, and I've seen them with scuba outfits on, delivering food to people stuck in their apartments in boats or evacuating them if they needed to. So we have a pretty good little community of protective services here. Faith and religion. I think I counted at least 16 churches within city limits in Paintsville. I took a picture of the Catholic Church, a House of Refuge church, which is actually a Pentecostal church, a First Church of Christ, and then a Paintsville United Baptist Church. We have a lot of churches in this area because we are part of the Bible Belt. I know I belong to a Pentecostal church, and I think there's at least 3 in city limits, so quite a few churches. Schools. We have 2 school systems in town. We have Johnson County Schools, which is a public school system, and we have Paintsville Elementary School, which is a private school system. So this is just a picture of downtown. We don't really have any violence with gangs or anything. We do have a lot of people on drugs, so we do see a lot of theft and things like that. A lot of downtown is just old antique stores. You have that SIP theater, the police department. There's an old coffee shop, but not a lot of growth or anything new in the area. So I'll just leave this picture up to talk about my feelings and the problem I see in the area. So I grew up in Paintsville. I'm fairly attached to my hometown. However, I would not recommend it for people wanting to settle down and have a family. Like I said, we don't really have a lot of things for children to do. We have the 2 parks and things, but not a lot of things to keep kids out of trouble besides school extracurricular activities and things like that. I know a lot of people travel outside of town for money. My brother's one of them. He's actually working in Ohio right now because it pays a lot more than he would get for anything around here. So these 2 pictures that I have on here, this is actually our swimming pool that's been closed for about 3 years now. They started knocking it down because they said they were going to upgrade, and then it's been like that ever since. In this community, you have to travel outside of town to shop for school clothes, have a movie, or even have a nice dinner. And then when people do try to open businesses in our area, they don't usually last. I know there's a whole shop local and eat local thing, but it's really hard for somebody to keep a business open in our area. Like I said, one of my main issues with the area is that there's not a lot of things for kids to do. This used to be a place where kids could go swim for $1. They had concession stands, diving boards, and a slide. They could spend all day there and have fun. It's very disappointing and sad that there's nothing for kids to do. They'd rather stay inside because there's not a lot they could do outside, Our Paintsville government has recently spoke out that they have began working with an architect to actually design a new pool, but the new plans, they don't really incorporate older kids too. I know they posted pictures of what they're planning to get, and it's mostly a splash pad, and it takes these 2 huge pools down to 1 pool. The main area will be a splash pad, which is basically for little kids, and then just 1 big pool, but it doesn't have diving boards or slides or anything like that. So a lot of people have kind of talked about how they don't really agree with that, and then now they're saying that because of inflation and the price of supplies and things, it'll be pushed even further. So I don't see anything happening anytime soon for children in our community. Another thing, community strengths. I think one of the strongest things about our community is our educational opportunities. Johnson County Schools always ranks highly in academics for the state, and they have numerous pathways that students can choose from for their classes. I know they have allied health, they have agriculture, they have engineering, and just different things that students can choose to learn from. They also have a wide range of sports and extracurricular activities for students. Paintsville Independent School, same thing. They always have really high college acceptance rates for their graduating class. Another community strength is that families in our area, there's always help. Like, this community comes together so much to help people who are in need. So whether it's hygiene items, anything like that, money, food, there's always somebody in this community that's willing to help. I know school districts, resource center, they're very good at sending kids home with the things that they know they need, or if a kid comes to them, they'll find a way to work that out for them. So as you can see, Paintsville's a fairly decent community to live in. There's not a lot of growth, but I think it's an income thing, you know. We can't really get anything in to bring revenue in, so we're not able to really put anything out. But thanks for listening.